Welcome back to the table and the wobbly cam, everybody. So glad to have you back to the table. Today we're going to take a look at Charge Eagles Rising. This is an unboxing, not a review. I haven't read it yet. As a matter of fact, it just came in today. I'm hoping I'll get this posted up the same day I film it. So this is January 28th. Should have looked at my calendar, but it's right before February, okay? Now, of 2022. So, what is this? This is another Napoleonic Wargaming Rules set. Now, when you say another, it almost sounds like, oh, well, gee, great, another one, how exciting. I'm actually pretty excited for this one. I have not read it yet. That's why this is an unboxing. I will share some of my thoughts at the end of the video. So, take this first minute as an intro. Let's look at the book, and then I'll share some thoughts so you can decide how much of the video you want to watch. Here we go. Now this is, I believe this is the hardbound premium print that you would get from Wargame Vault. Let me shift this over a little bit. It is kind of zoomed in just a tad because maybe make it easier to see things. Don't need to show you every single page because we want you to buy it. Don't want you to, just pause every frame here. So we have our table of contents. We have a foreword, an introduction to the Napoleonic period there. You got your game scale. This is something I know a lot of people want to know, that sometimes it's hard to find information on that. So I will share that with you. So each turn represents 45 to 60 minutes of time with two 20 to 30 minute rounds. The ground scale is 1 inch equals 40 to 60 yards. Oh, so that's kind of up close. Roughly 30 inches to 45 inches to the mile for 10 to 18 millimeter figures. Each unit can represent anything from a few hundred men to more than 1,000 plus man battalions. Oh, so if you're looking for figures to go with a new set of rules, I bet I'm so tempted to get into the Wargaming's release of their Waterloo stuff. So tempted. But I'm like, they got me with the Civil War stuff, but just that scale, this would be a rule set if you need figures. If you already got figures, great. Veteran Napoleonic players may have collections already assembled in various scales or mounting systems, 6mm to 28mm. These rules are designed to work with the various scales and mounting configurations. Depending on the game system used previously, you may have your miniatures based onto stands with the models of like 1 rank deep with 2 to 3 figures wide, such as the Empire system. Not to read the whole thing, but I'm actually very glad for that. So this is already a rule set in mind that you can use your existing figures with. And they tell you how a little bit. And then it says here they use 15 to 18 millimeter figures and can consequently the values listed in this rule set are for that scale. And then it talks a little bit how you can convert that to other scales you play. That is fantastic. Other systems do that, but I'm glad they have that laid out right there at the very beginning. It's got terms, maneuver elements, infantry maneuver elements. Again, I'm not going to read all of it to you, but I like the feel of the paper. I mean, for a pod, this is really nice. It looks great too. It's sharp. It's not blurry at all. I did get a book from Wargame Vault once before, and it was slightly blurry, but this is nice and crisp. We've got some really nice color illustrations here. Illustrations. How about photographs? Yeah, so we got some really nice photos here. Talking about basing and mounting. And this is really good too. I appreciate, I still am new to Napoleonics, even though I have some experience now with some other rule sets. I don't think I will ever be very experienced in Napoleonics as other players are, simply because I dedicate my time to a lot of other games. My hobby is diverse, but I always appreciate a rule set that has very good pictured examples of terminology, formations, and things that you would use in the game. So this is already a big plus in my book. It's got double rank mounting system, game equipment, things you need to have. I know I've bought some rule sets that very briefly touch on what you, the player, need to bring to the table. And so someone who is new to gaming might question, like, well, what all do I need? That might seem like a simple thing for someone who's an experienced tabletop wargamer, but for someone who's really new, this is good advice and a good intro. So I think that's great. Even talks about some specifics. They do have markers and command cubes that they use. You can get all of that from their website for free, as far as like downloading these cubes that you cut out and put together. So yeah, there's the book, and then your miniatures and things. Napoleonics can be a little pricey to get into, but at least the rule set, I'm happy that on their website they've got a lot of additional player aids that all you gotta do is download and print them out for free. Then it goes right in here. We got a turn sequence, strategic and engagement zones. Now, like I said, I haven't read the rules. I can't explain any of this. I'm not Wargames Illustrated. I like their videos. They get a book, they read it, and they do a really quick overview. Me, not so much. I was just so happy to get this and want to share it out. Mostly because when I went to Wargame Vault is where I actually first found this rule set, and they had the PDF at $40, and I got some prices to share with you here in a little bit, but that piqued my curiosity because I was like, this had better be about 800 pages for $40, and did some research, and over time they've got some I think more in line pricing with what people would expect for a rule set like this. So they, through some email correspondence, they asked if I would be, willing to get a copy of the rules so I could do a review, and I said yeah, because I was really curious and really impressed by what I saw on their website. And I know some people like to see what's inside before they buy, so that's what we're looking at here. So we got a tactical phase, interactive segments, tactical phase, activation, charges, and movement. Oh, I saw a little template. I was like, oh, I've seen a template like that before. Talks about your column versus line or skirmish lines, cavalry versus square. And again, I think that a lot of photographic, pictures to go along, I think are always good. Here's rules for formation changes, your about face, oblique movements, wheelings, retires, artillery movement. And it's not difficult reading either. I like the book kind of layout versus like columns layout. I don't know why, but over time I find the column reading to be kind of tedious. I like just reading it as a book, especially if I do get like the PDF version of a book. The columns I have to zoom in, and I'm always constantly scrolling up and down on the same page to read both sides. But just having it as a nice book format, I think, is easier for me to read. So I appreciate that. But I see some topics there like broken units, commander movement, prorated movement, terrain effects. Then we get into the tactical phase. And this is another thing too. I was impressed with the way they had some layouts. I like the color-coded sides on the pages. It kind of stands out a little bit. So as you come to know what section covers what, it's really easy to just kind of look at the edge of your book and go, okay, we're doing combat. That's the yellow portion. And it makes it a little easier to find stuff. Small arms fire table. There's your modifiers for shooting. Small arms and artillery ranges. Artillery fire modifiers. Worn and spent checks. So far, a lot of the topics I'm reading are not things I've not unheard of before. So it's nice to know that they've included a lot of elements I think people will be used to seeing. Skill tests, when to test. There's a skill test table, modifiers for that. Test failure overview. Yeah, nothing foreign or like why would they put that in here? Close action combat modifiers. They are a little in-depth on some modifiers, and on one hand a person might say, gee, that's a lot. On the other hand, I'm thinking, well, that's good, because I know I've played a few games where I've wondered if a certain situation would apply a modifier, and my buddy and I usually will just make something up, like, oh, that's a good point, let's give that a +1 or some kind of penalty. So it's nice that they actually have pretty lengthy amount of modifiers to look over. Infantry or artillery defeat. Oh, I see automatic disorders, advantage in unit numbers. Now, this is great. I like how everything... This is also another type of rule set I like, where I know some folks might find that a little tedious, but I really like the very specific numbering of rules, such as, you know, if I was to ask a question on something and they could say to me, oh, that's section 10.5.2.5. I love that kind of numbering system. It's very specific and really helps you find rules. And as you become more familiar with the rules, it's very easy for you and someone to say, oh, here's where this is. I like it. I've got some rules where me and my friend will be like, oh, that's on page 13 at the top of this paragraph. And then you got to go and read through the paragraph. But here I like that you can get very specific with where rules are located. So I am very happy with that. And again, you've got a lot of situations covered. There's the cavalry loss versus infantry squares. Oh, then we get into morale. I think the only thing that I would have liked to have seen different, this would have increased the page count, but you know, it's not my book. But if I was going to say, if they could for the future put each of these color sections in their own section. So the change from the tactical to morale, maybe put a page divider. So I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well. It's what they have isn't terrible, and there was a couple sections on here that would not make sense to do, like here. The turn sequence is this. Does that need to be surrounded by 2 full pages of divider? No, probably not. But as you go from the bigger sections, like from 5 to 6, from 6 to 7, those are pretty lengthy. So having a nice, cool Napoleonic painting or something as it separates one chapter from the next, that to me would bump it up to a whole new level. But I still like the fact that each chapter is color-coded for reference. Yeah, see, again, a person might argue, well, would that really work for this section 11 because morale is only a page, you know, here, front and back page. And then here, this starts on its own page, so we're okay with that. And this one here is, rally and recovery. Yeah, lots of charts. So I have to admit, when I get to the end here, here's terrain, built-up areas. I'm just smiling as I go through because this has lots of things I love. There's the grand batteries, weather and nighttime. Yes, this is really good. We got skirmish optional rules. We have national specific and special rules. So a whole section on that. Then we get to the end of that. There's a few things there. The Lucky Nay rule, guardhouse artillery, an index. Appreciated. I like having an index. I'll have to spend some time reading and see how comprehensive this is. If this, you know, if I wanted to look up a topic, how that will help me find it. But I will tell you this. Here's the thing that scared me the most. When I went to the website, I think they had like some charts and things you could look at and download so you don't have to tear up your book or anything. And there was a lot. It was almost like looking at the advanced squad leader of Napoleonics. Here, what we're looking at, ratings chart, but you get into nationality, but see, even like this ratings chart, you know, it's dense. There's a lot of information. This is actually really good. I would say this is not worse than, say, like ESR. This reminds me kind of a layout of Etson's Resultat. Retant, I can't even say the word. I don't speak French. But here you have a lot of leaders, their characteristics. So this didn't scare me, okay? Like this I've seen before. I thought this is great. They have a lot of wealth of information. They get into specific leaders, it looks like, and regiments and units. And there's a lot. So you've got, you know, Württemberg, Denmark of different years. So yeah, that's Denmark, 1800, 1815. I'm looking specifically, my son always wants to play Swedish. He has nothing that says Swedish or any figures or anything, but if anybody was to play with him and they said Sweden was an option, he would totally take that. I don't know why. Finland, if they had Finland in Napoleonics, he would probably play Finland. we're finished. So he would like that. But I don't see Sweden. Sorry, buddy. Oh, there's Sweden. I found it. So there's Sweden. Good on them. Yeah. So lots of units to pick from, even some Ottoman Turks. So yeah, that's great. A huge, nice listing of troops. And then we get into some of the charts that you can get. Yeah, here's where we're talking. When I went to their website, I said to myself, oh my gosh, this is dense. And it scared me. I truly was intimidated by the amount of information fit into these quick reference sheets that they have. But again, I will say this. I would rather have it than not have it. You know what I mean? That's really not that bad. It just looks dense. Now that I've got it in my hands, this isn't probably as bad as I thought it would be. Yeah, because really it's 1, 2, 3 pages, 4, I guess, if you were to get this. They do have them available so you can print out for free. And there's an overview of the book. So if you were curious what was inside, now I did go back and make some notes. This is right off of Wargame Vault. So if you were to go to Wargame Vault and look, probably can't read it, but the PDF is now $20 instead of $40. The softbound standard book is $38, and the hardbound premium is $55. They also have a scenario that you can get, Battle of Lubino, 1812, for $10. And I didn't see any print options for that. I think that's just the PDF scenario for $10. I haven't had a chance to really dig into that yet, but that is Charge, Eagles Rising, and some price points for you. I don't disagree with the price point. I can go to my local game store right now and find just about any, say, Warhammer fantasy book or any number of hardbound books that cost more than this. So I think that if you're looking for a hardbound, this would be fantastic. If I was to give a suggestion, I think another good option would be to get the softbound and then go to a local print shop in your town if you have it and have them spiral bind it. That to me would be another exceptional option. So I think the price points are good. And I think you're getting a lot. That actually makes me very happy. This has very little in the way of fluff, and this is a lot in the way of rules so you can game your Napoleonic Wargaming. Not a review, just my initial thoughts on an unboxing, if you will, and I didn't want to call it an unbooking, that didn't make sense, but initial flip through thoughts and what you're going to get in here. I'm very excited. I hope that maybe in the next couple weeks I'll have time to read this. I'm a slow reader, but I want to give this a nice thorough read and then come back and explain some of the things that I found. But please go to Wargame Vault if you're curious. Check out Charge, Eagles Rising. Do a search for them. They've made a couple updates to their website. Navigation is really nice. They have a lot of good information. Again, they have a lot of free downloads so you can learn more about the game for yourself. And then, like I said, depending on your level of interest, they do have some different price points for you to get in on the game. And yeah, I'd be curious to hear your comments on what you think. But thank you for watching, and I hope to see you for an upcoming review of Charge, Eagles Rising.